So I think we all know that it's soil and biology that work together to really, or I mean, it's plants and microbes in the soil that work together to build a functional soil. And no big surprise there, but it is all of the biology that builds organic matter, which builds soil structure. So the soil holds water, but still aerates and drains. It retains nutrients and informs the plants can use. It lets air get into the soil, which is really important. And really all this biology works together to build soil and feed it. Unfortunately, we have a lot of soil like this. So I live in St. Louis, and I see this a lot, where really the soil is dead. There's very little organic matter. Can't get a shovel in it. When it rains, water washes off, kind of like asphalt. You have anything growing in it, you have to constantly feed and water, or it won't live, because all basically the soil is doing is helping the plant stand upright. There's a lot of things we do that causes this, things I didn't know until I started digging into soil science. And one of the things, for example, is when we overfeed plants. Now, this is not a slam on synthetic fertilizers. They're great, and we want to continue using them. But when we over-fertilize, the feedback mechanism for the plant is in a normal situation, the plant will expend about 30% of its energy to secrete food in the root zone to attract and multiply microbes, because the microbes in turn get nutrients the plant can't access. When we overfeed the plant stops feeding the microbes so much. So the microbes then consume the organic matter and nutrients in the soil, and through time, that's how the soil gets degraded. So we need to bring that back into balance. I remember in the early days of no-till with Roundup Ready crops, I had some guys tell me, Dave, I left all that corn debris out in the field, and a year later, it's still there. What's going on? This is a mess. This isn't working. And sadly, it was because in those situations, the soil didn't have enough microbial life to break it down. So this field, you can see there's a lot of nutrition in the crop debris and in the cover crop, but not a single molecule of it will ever go to future generations of crops unless a microbe breaks it down into chemical simple forms that are then accessible by the next generation of plants. So whether that's plant debris, manure, etc., the process that's called mineralization, microbes are required to make that happen. So I say all this because I'm trying to build the case for why whatever microbial product you use, you want diversity. The backbone of any microbial program needs to be microbial diversity, meaning bacteria, fungi, and protozoa, because they all work together like an engine. Any single component is important, but being out of balance can cause problems. So for example, bacteria are the most numerous. And this quote from the Food and Ag Organization, really says that bacteria, from our point of view, are probably the most important and valuable forms of life in the soil. And they are, because they're the primary degraders. They solubilize nutrients and such. So they are key. Without bacteria, we're not cycling nutrients. But that's only part of the story. Fungi are also really important. So this is one type of fungus called mycorrhizal fungi. So you can see the big plant roots, but that white feathery area between the roots, those aren't root hairs. That's actually mycorrhizal fungi hyphae. So they're growing along and they penetrate into the plant roof, but because they're smaller than even the tiniest root hairs, they can get between soil particles and reach out further. So they effectively increase the surface area of plants' roots anywhere from 100 to 1,000 times. And they do things like solubilize phosphorus and such. There's other kinds of fungi that, like trichoderma, that live along the root. They eat other microbes. They eat disease-causing soil-borne microbes, and they eat bacteria. And then last are the protozoa. These are important because they eat bacteria, as do fungi. So you can see all those little black dots. Those are bacteria. The protozoa as the bacteria multiply also will increase, and they keep the populations in balance. Why do we care? Well, when we apply fertilizer, whether that's in manure, it's crop debris, or it's synthetic NP and K, if you have bacteria in the soil, the bacteria are going to eat that fertilizer. And that's a good thing because bacteria, almost all of them, live within ½ an inch of a root. However, bacteria have a really high nitrogen requirement, so they tie the nitrogen up. And sometimes you may see yellow corn syndrome, where you've put down nitrogen, you've got crop debris, but the bacteria are tying up the nitrogen while they're breaking down the stubble from last year's crop. So your corn crop doesn't have enough nitrogen, even though you've applied it. What you need in that situation is more fungi and protozoa, because God created them to eat the bacteria, but they have a very low nitrogen requirement. So they are constantly spitting out ammonia and nitrate. And again, this is all within ½ an inch of the root, because that's where the bacteria live. So we get the cycling of the nitrogen back to the plant in the chemical form it wants. So without that diversity, we're not getting the cycling. The lower right-hand corner is a picture of a nematode. Not all nematodes are bad. Some, like soybean cyst, bore into the plant root and they suck out the juices and cause a lot of damage. But other nematodes are predators that eat those nematodes, as well as fungi, bacteria, even insect eggs. So, that was a real high level, look at why diversity in soil is so important and why we need that balance. I should also say other things that happen that can upset the balance in soil is flooding. So if you've got an area of your field that's sat underwater for a while, and when it drains, it smells like a swamp, well, all of the aerobic or the air-loving microbes, which are most of the beneficials, have died. And what you've got are the anaerobic microorganisms, which smell to no end, and also tend to be more of the plant pathogens. So you need to restore that to an aerobic state. Tilling tends to kill fungi, especially the mycorrhizae. Now, I'm not saying don't till. I'm just saying that when we do this, we need to add the balance back. So I like to look for evidence. So this is all, the scientific models and such. So where in nature does this happen to prove all this is right? Well, this is the Olympia National Forest. And you go to any forest, no one feeds it, no one fertilizes it. Look at the biomass. This is here because all of that nutrient cycling from the massive trees to the microscopic bacteria and fungi in the soil are working together. Here's another example. This is a golf course actually pretty close to where I live, and this friend took this picture. This is actually a disease. This is called fairy ring. But what's happening is as the fungi grows the circle, the leading edge of the fungi are breaking down the plant debris and releasing those nutrients to the grass. So that's why it's darker green. So we can see in nature how the microbes really are contributing to providing nutrients to the plants. So what's in Holganix? Like I say, it's a complete blend of all the different kinds of microbes you've got here. Plant growth promoting, the degrading bacteria, mycorrhizal fungi, trichoderma, protozoa, bacteria that live in the plant like indigo has, or on top of the plant on the surface. We also put different food sources in there. So when you use a Bio 800 Plus product, our rate in corn is ½ a gallon an acre. You're putting down about 1 pound of sugar an acre, and that's there for the microbes. We have humic and fulvic acid, amino acids. You'll see micronutrients like zinc and iron and calcium and such. All of that is to get the microbes established in the soil. They are not at a level or a rate that's going to supplement any deficiency in your soil for your crop. So don't think that if you've got a zinc deficiency, for example, Bio 800 is going to fix that. Our nutrients are for the microbes. So it's not to replace those particular deficiencies. I should also add our product is 100% organic. and it's not necessarily the market we're going for, but it's the only way we can make it. So it is there if that's of value to you.